Welcome to Paper Movies. It's December 2020, and this month we are talking about Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins, and this book is written by George Gipe.
Mine has a barcode on it.
Yay, George Gipe. Writing Gremlins. Okay. Cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, and dangerous. Wow. What a book this was for December.
I'm sorry, you mean mischievous?
Mischievous.
Actually, I don't think it matters. I think it just depends on what part of the country you're from.
Yeah. So this book, thought it would be fun to read for, the Christmas season, as it takes place during the Christmas time. We have Rand. He's the father of a guy named Billy, and he's like an inventor, and he's wanting something special, something cool for his son as a gift for Christmas. And he goes to Chinatown, where he goes to these little underground shops trying to find something interesting. Well, somebody calls him in and says, "Hey, I've got something for you." And it's like a little alien species, okay, called a mogwai, okay? Getting a lot of stuff here that I did not pick up in the film, which I watched the film a long time ago. But yeah, the mogwai, Gizmo, will be named later on by his new owner, Billy. He's an alien. Okay, so the dad Rand, he buys this creature from the store shop's grandson, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And the old man did not want to sell this little mogwai to Rand, but little under the table deal. Rand gets it, takes it home to his son Billy, gives it to him as an early Christmas present. There are 3 rules: you can't feed the gremlins after midnight, you can't get them wet, and the third rule was I can't remember the third rule.
No bright light.
Yeah, no bright
light. That's right. So you got to keep them away from the bright light. Can't feed them after midnight, and you don't want to get them wet. And if you do, well, if you break any of those things, you could either kill it, you can make it reproduce, and turn
it into a nasty gremlin.
Nasty gremlin. A little furry, nice little cute gizmo turns into a terrifying, ugly little monster that wants to destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this book is crazy. Okay?
Can I jump in here?
Well, we should clarify. Yes, Gizmo gets wet, gremlins happen, chaos erupts throughout the town.
Oh, yeah.
Gremlins.
Mm-hmm. This is an example of a movie novelization that was for a previous edit of the film.
Yes.
Very much so. Gremlins was a very notorious film when it came out. It's one of the reasons we have the PG-13 rating by the MPAA, because it was not violent enough for an R rating, but it was too violent for a PG rating, and a lot of it had to be cut to keep it PG as opposed to an R-rated film. Unlike its rip-off Critters, which is very much an R-rated film, Gremlins is supposed to be an all-ages film, but is horribly violent. And I love it for that. But this was... Should we just get into opinions right now?
What's your opinion, Jer?
Yeah, come on,
Don't
Jer.
call me Jer. I hate when you call me Jer.
Okay. All right,
I really loved the second half of this book. The first half I thought was a slog. I thought it was unnecessary, full of a bunch of plot lines that didn't need to be in a book called Gremlins. The whole plot line with Mrs. Deagle trying to shut down the whole town is really tedious.
Yes.
The Gizmo's perspective and the Gremlins' perspective, at first, I was not a fan of. I thought it was bizarre, but as it went on, I got used to it, and I kind of dug the Stripe and Gizmo conflict.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Because they have this knowledge that their creator gifted them in their brain. Mm-hmm. They know things, and they don't know why they know things or how they know these things. Like Gizmo knows he's not supposed to get wet, because apparently this thing happened in the past. There's hints that this stuff, gremlins are a known thing to have happened before. Mm-hmm. We have one of our characters, I can't recall his name, but he's played
by Dick Miller. He's a Futterman.
Futterman, yes. He drives a snowplow. He goes on and on and on about gremlins in World War II. And yeah, you're right, Jeremy. The book does get pretty tedious in certain spots. I thought the author was very inconsistent in the way that he wrote things.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes the chapters, usually when the chapter starts, it's like a completely different author's writing. The descriptions, the dialogue, everything seems more sophisticated and like, oh, it's very, special literature that he's writing. And then all of a sudden it turns into this boring, let's keep dragging our heels, drag certain things along. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm bored now. And then he starts off with the next chapter or something like, I don't know, just fantastical word usage and everything's just like a sudden change. And then it shifts back into this, I'm having such a hard time.
Also, these chapters, like half of them are really, really long.
Oh, yeah. My favorite chapter, what was it?
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11. Such a great chapter. I mean, 2 words.
It was...
Words. Pete forgot.
Yeah, literally, that reminded me of the second Dark Tower book where Stephen King does that. Where it'll be like, the plane landed. And it goes into another character's perspective on things. Which makes me laugh.
This was an intentional joke that I thought was really funny. It's like, hey, Pete, which is a younger kid who's Billy's friend. Billy, he's out of college. He's working at a bank. There's this girl that he likes named Kate. But there's this kid who's still in high school or junior high, something. And he likes to hang out with Billy. They're friends, they're buds. He's also the reason why Gizmo gets wet and reproduces to make more Mogwai, which, by the way, the bad Mogwai cannot hurt Gizmo. He is the minority, right? And they are the majority?
Yes, he's the minority because he's immortal, which is something they established, which doesn't make... first of all, Gremlins the movie with the Gremlin rules, the Mogwai rules, don't make any sense. The book makes them make even less sense.
They even play it. They even turn it into a joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, which is something that ends up happening in the second movie, where they really start making fun of that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I gave up physically reading the book, and thanks to a YouTuber, I'm going to shout out here, the 80s slasher librarian, who he himself did an audiobook for this. Props to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he even has the actor that plays Billy appear in the videos.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, no. He does some solid stuff. He's just finished reading Friday the 13th Part 3, which is a really hard one to find.
Yeah. That's cool. We'll have to let him know that we've tuned in to his channel.
Yeah.
Could give us an easy route to some other reviews and stuff. So, Adam, what are your thoughts on Gremlins?
I like the chapters with the gremlins in it.
Okay.
I kind of agree with you guys. There were just times it was just really, drug out. And a lot of the stuff there, I just kind of felt like, wasn't really necessary. But once we actually start, with the introducing of the Mogwai and everything, I feel like things pick up for a little bit. But like, as you said, it picks up. And then it kind of slows down. Then it picks up again. But overall, I mean, it was entertaining. And, I can kind of see it had some Looney Tune effects, especially with like with what happened to Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was very unfortunate for her, but...
No, she deserved it. There's never been a character...
She has a wheelchair. She has... One of those chairs that goes up the staircase.
Yeah.
She sits in it. She enjoys it. She makes up excuses to go upstairs and downstairs.
It's the only thing
she
likes other than being an awful human being to everyone.
Oh, yeah. She's rude. She's mean. I guess she got what was coming to her, but yeah, it was funny. They said she dies. Okay, she gets on her chair, and the only way that she could have gone the distance that they found her dead body is if she was traveling 200 miles an hour. So she managed to get from the first floor of her house to, I'm assuming the second floor of her house, 200 miles an hour, super fast. Crashes through her either wall or window and flies a long time.
The one that got me, because once the Gremlin stuff, they get out and like they're running all over the place. The one that got me is they got the police by putting cinder blocks all over the road, and they ran over a wall of cinder blocks. Completely ruined the chassis of the car.
Yeah, I remember reading they even messed with some street signs, and it says like, yeah, these people have been on detours for hours, like going in just complete circles and everything.
Oh yeah, it's like I guess they've messed with the TV station and power.
The phone lines.
So the only way people are getting news is through the radio, which is giving like live reports of everything that's happening. Some traffic lights are green, and like all 4 lights are green, and then like other traffic lights are all red. So people are crashing into each other. They're stuck there for miles. The traffic's built up for miles, and it's just funny because it's like, oh, the detour situation. Like, oh, they're just driving in circles for hours. Are these people not from this small town? It sounds like it's supposed to be a really small town, but
but it has a mall. It has a mall that a bunch of people get trapped in and get injured in the automatic doors.
Yeah, the glass doors.
And on the escalator. There's also the stoplights where some of them are all green and some of them are all red. It's just all this mischief. But
silly nonsense. The Mogwai curses. One of them curses.
Yeah, that honestly reminded me of Critters, where in Critters, one of the critters drops an F-bomb and runs away.
Oh, yeah?
But Critters is rated R. It's horribly violent garbage.
Yeah, I want to know what I wrote it down here. It's Chet's Wibba. It reminded me of an Ewok for some reason. It just sounds like something an Ewok would say from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Chet's Wibba. Or Chet's Wibba. That just got us flagged.
Some of the deaths in this were heinous. One of them I was familiar with because it actually made the first cut of the film, and it's infamous, was the biology teacher getting killed with all the syringes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's a very Tobe Hooper thing. Tobe Hooper, of course, directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2. So he's known for putting heinous things on film. But I can't even remember who produced this film, like what production company, but they said, no, that's got to be pulled.
You know, I was reading earlier a very interesting fact about the Mogwai, and I came to the realization that this film was made in present times, like it wouldn't be a movie, because like if someone were to just look up the meaning of the term Mogwai, most of these events could have been avoided, because Mogwai in Chinese means either evil spirit, devil, or monster.
Okay, makes sense. With the biologist, he dies with those needles because he's prodding the gremlin. Well, before he's a gremlin, he's a little Mogwai.
They're doing all those blood tests.
All these blood tests. They want to figure out, this is a cool little new species that was discovered, because they made a big deal out of this species being new. Well, in the classroom, I'm horrible at clarifying things. In the classroom, Pete, he's sitting in his class. They're talking about, oh, yes, new animals are being discovered. He's like, oh, that's cool. And then he goes over to Billy's house, who has a Mogwai, and he's like, oh, what is that? Billy's like, I don't know. So then Pete's like, I'm going to talk to my biology teacher. So then, a little reproduction happens there with the Mogwai. They take one of them, give it to the biology teacher. Biology teacher, I've got needles. I'm going to take your blood. And he feeds it after midnight, because he's been up all night taking blood samples. So then the Mogwai's pissed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few gremlin deaths that also got taken out of the film, which was nice to see those in the book. Like, I can't remember if she actually, Billy's mom, throws one in the blender or not in the movie. I know she puts one in a microwave.
I know one was decapitated, wasn't it?
Yeah, it bounces in the fireplace. At least that's what it says in the book.
It's really nasty, and they had to be edited down for the movie, like I've said, because it had to be PG if it was going to make any money. Which is a shame. And at the same time, the parents hated this movie.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a children's book of this, because I know when we were looking for this, I had the hardest time finding this book at first. You just kept finding the junior novel everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting artwork, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that's the cover. Do you like my barcode on mine?
Nice. I had one right here on the spine.
Yeah, I also had to tape mine together.
The spine does have a little Mogwai in a box.
Yeah.
Discovered that today, actually.
I have to say, though, what I was going to ask, what did you guys think of Stripe as a villain? Because he kind of kept making me chuckle.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jer.
Don't call me Jer. We should... Okay, let's explain.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
you want to do it,
Jer?
We'll get to the Stripe thing in just a minute. So one of the things that's different from in the book than the movie is there's a lot of time spent at the bank, which is tedium incarnate. This book takes place over a couple days, and Billy has to go to work, and he works at a bank, and his boss is a jerk, and this guy who's like the supervisor, I guess, of the bank is like a couple years older than him, and he's like sleazy and a jerk as well, and he wants Kate. Honestly, I don't even think he wants Kate for the sake of he's even attracted to her that much. He just wants to get at Billy.
I think so too.
It's like what it comes off as. But his name's Gerald, and Billy figures out that if he calls him Jer, it upsets him. Which he has a weird ending in this book too. It was just a little shocking and felt very out of place.
Yeah, when you mentioned Looney Tunes there earlier, Adam, that's what it made me think of. That was a Looney Tune moment. Mm-hmm. In more ways than one. Comical, like you'd see in a stupid cartoon where he's all like making stuff up, like, oh, we're making a bank for little people. Silly nonsense, because he's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the whole Jer thing, I thought it was funny because he does it. Billy says Jer every single time he talks to him. And he's like, please don't do that. And he's like, all right, Jer. And the guy's just like, oh, pissed off all the time.
I think I remember him saying, like, oh, I'm sorry, Jer. I forgot, Jer. You know?
Yeah. Just kept going and going and going with it.
But I liked Stripe as a villain. He's the only gremlin that's, like, memorable. And that goes with both the film and the book. Whereas, like, in Gremlins 2, they had more money. So they have a couple of them that are different. Like you have like the Bat Gremlin, you have the creepy Spider Gremlin. You have the one with like the lazy eye.
Yeah.
Well, what made me chuckle a little bit was whenever Stripe dives into a swimming pool and he's just kind of like laying down, he's like floating down there. So it's like, you know,
which the puppet couldn't do in the first movie. They had so many issues with getting those to actually move.
Well, yeah, it's just the impression I got while reading it. I actually saw this movie once, like when I was a kid, but just the impression I got that he was just kind of like, this is going to be fun, like as he was floating down to the bottom of the pool.
Yeah. I thought he was okay. I thought, like we said earlier, it was kind of comical, the little jabs that Spike would have with, or Stripe would have with Gizmo when they're both Mogwai at this time. He's like always going up to Gizmo and he's like, I know there's something that's keeping me from being like the one with all the power. And he has all these little things like, I'm going to get you one day. I thought that was silly, it's goofy. But then when he does turn into the actual gremlin, he doesn't get a chance to really do anything to Gizmo, but throw him like a football a couple times.
Yeah, they torment him and smack him around.
Yeah. But I thought there could have been a little bit something a little bit different with that. Like maybe when, like later on in the story, he's trying to hunt down Gizmo. You know, I felt like he was just kind of pushed aside for a little bit until the very end, after he became the Gremlin. Thought it'd been cooler if he was like trying to hunt them down, Billy and Gizmo. He really didn't.
Yeah, it sounds like he got caught up, with all the mischievous fun he was having.
Yeah. Being in a movie theater. Now, was it? I know we're supposed to be talking about the novel, but in the movie, was this the movie that had Hulk Hogan in the movie theater, or is that in the second movie?
That's the second movie.
It was the second movie. Okay.
The second movie has all of the cameos and stuff. Because the second movie is a farce. I mean, Futterman's back in the second movie, and he dies. He dies clearly in the first movie. Well, him and his wife both die. They die differently. In the movie, they get run over with the bulldozer, or the snowplow, goes completely through their house and runs them over. Yeah. In the book, he's shooting gremlins off his roof in his garage, and then the garage topples because the snowplow goes through and he's crushed.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, you could argue they could have survived, but not really. But this is like a for sure confirmed fatality.
Yeah. Yeah, all over the radio, multiple times on the radio. Billy's upset with that. But it doesn't make... The second movie doesn't make any sense, and that's like... I have the novelization here, and I can't imagine how bad the novel would be. Maybe it fixed the movie.
Well, Tobe Hooper didn't care with Gremlins 2.
Yeah.
He just wanted to make a Looney Tunes movie, but with people in it.
Yeah.
And more violent.
More violent. It's funnier. I like 2 almost in certain ways more than 1. I mean, Christopher Lee plays a character called Dr. Catheter. I mean, it's just nonsense. And when the bat gremlin comes out of the escapes out the window and makes the bat signal with its like when it breaks
Batman logo
in the wall, and then it gets like cement on it and turns into a gremlin gargoyle.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's nonsense.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that one in next December. I'm just kidding. But you know what? Something else we didn't mention. Another character in the book was Billy's Volkswagen Beetle.
Oh, yeah.
They tried to turn that into a character, and it kind of worked.
It didn't work. I'm going to argue it didn't work at all. It does what it does in the movie. It just dies for plot convenience purposes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to mention this as something that I kind of noticed when we were... Mrs. Deagle, she is like way too committed at very, non-necessary things. Like she is like way like obsessed with trying to get Billy fired. Like it's like every time they encounter, she's trying to get him fired. I'm just like, what is your deal with this person? Is this all really just because of a dog?
It's because the dog knocked over her ceramic snowman and beheaded it.
I mean, I remember that
part. It's already broken. Yeah, she was a vicious old lady. She going to sell everybody's property to
a chemical plant,
corporate chemical plant. Yeah, ruin that city.
Yeah, it's so farcical, and it doesn't.
That's like I was just like reading, like this is like the most vindictive old lady I've ever read about. Just like she kind of reminded me of like the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, like with the same thing, like trying to take away Dorothy's dog and everything.
Yeah.
Talking about poisoning a dog. That's literally what's being talked about. And that's a plot line for one chapter. And then it's forgotten about.
Well, Billy explains it later on. He's like, yeah, because one of the Stripe is messing with their dog, whose name
Barney.
Is messing with Barney, and this causes Billy's mother to be upset because, the Gremlins. They're not Gremlins yet. They become
the Mogwai.
But the Mogwai, the bad ones, that were reproduced, they mess with the dog a lot. They pull his tail. They're getting
poking
dog
him
food.
With needles.
They're making his dog food wet and putting it throughout the house, so it looks like he vomited up his food. So the mom, she's getting mad at the dog, like, oh, you get outside, do this, do that. And so the dog's getting in trouble for things that the Gremlins are doing. Mogwai.
It doesn't matter.
Right. You know what I'm trying to say. So the dog's getting in trouble. And, the dog winds up getting out of the story for a while, comes back at the end. But I forgot where I was going with all of that.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. But yeah, we learned that Gizmo had a couple of different owners. He's on Earth for quite a long time. His first owner, I guess, was a medieval peddler in the 16th century.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a quick question. Since you guys are probably more familiar with the movie than I am, could the Mogwai and the Gremlins actually talk in the film?
No, they don't. They look at each other, but there's never a conversation.
I was kind of wondering about that. Like, was that like done through like subtitles or something? But if they don't actually talk, then
no. There's a scene where they look at Gizmo and then they gang up on him,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of in this book, but kind of not. They
Yeah.
they do things differently. Certain scenes are. It's like with Spider-Man, where they kind of swap scenes around because it works better in a book one way and it works better in a movie another way.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that quite a bit. Like Chapter 1 is nonsense and is not in the book not in the movie at all.
That's the one for the racist stuff. The stuff that would be questioned today, right?
Yeah, and just
Yeah, Chapter 1. Yeah.
well, yeah, there's some dated terminology in here, but it's very brief.
Yeah.
Of
Nothing. I don't think it's too offensive, but of course,
we live in 2020, my dudes. We live in witch hunt society.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, chapter 2 and 3 are swapped in the movie, where chapter 3 is the beginning of the movie and chapter 2 happens. Kind of, sort of. Futterman doesn't sing a Gremlins song that's terrible. I hated that Gremlins song. I thought it was stupid.
Yeah. There's a lot of stupid stuff in this book, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was not. It was not what I thought it was going to be.
No.
I did find it more tedious than exciting overall.
You see, I want to say that I wasn't looking forward to Spider-Man at all, but Spider-Man became like one of the best things we've read on this podcast. So I was coming off the high of that, and I'm like, Gremlins, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. It wasn't.
No.
It's not the worst thing we've read on here.
Cough, predators, cough.
Yeah, exactly. Predator. The Predator still takes the cake. We have yet to review something like a Catwoman, for instance.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Merry Christmas, Matthew.
But I don't know. This was not. I didn't really enjoy this.
So what would you give it as a rating?
2.3 stars out of 5. Gremlin Action gets 1 star, and the weird changes get the 1.3.
Okay.
Otherwise, it was a slog to get through.
Adam?
I'm going to have to agree. It was a little tedious to get through, especially, for me, I've been really under the weather this week and it was really a chore to get through. And I don't think, I'm going to say at the most, probably C-.
C-. Well, okay. Well, that leaves it up to me. While I did have some fun with it, like I said, I found it mostly tedious, boring, hard to get through. I did not like how the author kept mixing up things. Like, if he stuck with certain styles, it would have been a really good book. Maybe just like you mentioned, Jeremy, or Jer, all the edits from the film. Maybe
me Jer.
Maybe he got 2 scripts and he's like pulling from both. I don't know, but I'm going to have to give it, like what you said, Adam. I'm going to have to give it a C- as well. Like, it had some good stuff, had some bad, weird things in it that just were silly.
I was going to ask, what was everyone's favorite part of the book?
Jared, would you like to take that one first?
When it was over?
Oh,
No, it was when the Gremlins started. Anytime the radio came on, it reminded me of another movie novelization that we may get to this year. That I will point out when we get to that. But it reminded me of a similar scene in that where you're like, oh my, this is all happening. Specifically, the cinder blocks to the police car. I literally busted up laughing.
Didn't they mention that like Billy's listening to it over the radio, or somebody was listening to it?
Yeah, that's how they tie it in. Is Billy's been listening to it the whole time, but they don't tie it in like that first.
But did they mention War of the Worlds?
Yeah, they
think it's a practical joke or something.
Yeah, the cops think that.
That's right.
Or no, it's the bartender thinks that.
I'm going to say my favorite part was the end of chapter 10 and chapter 11. I just loved how that flowed. It was just so hilarious. Just like Pete was just like, Pete was his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was just like, I swear, Scout's honor, cross my heart, I will not forget. Chapter 11, he forgot.
Yep.
I laughed.
Yep, I think that's probably going to have to be my favorite part as well, too, because I legitimately laughed out loud when that happened. And I remember like calling you guys up, be like, wait till you get to this chapter. It'll blow your mind.
I even told that to my wife, and she laughed out loud, too.
Can I just throw one more thing in here?
Yeah.
The way they wrap up Pete's character is terrible. He just runs away.
He runs away, and we never hear back what happened to him.
I don't get it. Well, the whole last chapter is both tedious and rushed.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of the end of... Adam's not read this book, but Matthew has. Remember the end of the Force Awakens novelization?
I don't really remember the ending of it.
Well, the last chapter picks up... It's 10 pages, as I recall, and it goes from the confrontation on the bridge to the end of the movie.
Wow.
And it is so rushed and just terrible. It's like my one big complaint with that novelization. And that's what this felt like. And that's not a good thing when we got literally... Let's look at this book. This thing is almost 300 pages.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it to be rushed like that, and then have a bunch of this whole Deagle subplot that didn't even need to be in there.
Yeah, it's like the last 2 pages is the Chinese man, the old Chinese man that did not want to sell the Mogwai, shows up on Billy's doorstep to get the Mogwai back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought that was kind of weird because he was like going on just like oh, you guys are not worthy to raise one of these things, and then he looks at Billy, he's just like, you might be, and I'm just like,
well, that's the movie too. Although in the movie he Rand Peltzer tries to give him like an ashtray invention or something like that too, and that doesn't happen in the book.
Yeah. I guess one other interesting thing too, I have this in my notes when it's talking about the Mogwai. They were sent throughout the galaxy, so there's other Mogwai everywhere.
Yeah.
The story is focused. This focuses on the Mogwai sent to the 3rd satellite of Minor Sun 67672, which is Earth.
Okay. There's also, but the thing is, there have to be other Mogwai as well, because they reference all of these incidents with Gremlins, and they aren't all Gizmo. And that was unnecessary too.
Turns out Yoda is just a green Mogwai. Lives a long time, pointy ears. I'll stop.
Okay, Describe how, like, what did you say? Like, the something section of this is Earth or something like that? Where you're saying the satellite or something?
Yeah, it's in chapter 1. I just accidentally deleted my note.
You mean the chapter you had me read live on Marco Polo?
Yes. Among the planets selected for early Mogwai population were Kelm 6 in the Portacity range, Klimph A on the Beehive Pollux, and the third satellite of minor sun 672, a small but fertile body called Earth by its inhabitant.
You know what vibe I get from that? I am your father's brother's cousin's best friend's former roommate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I get from that.
Yeah. Yeah, chapter 1 is a very strange chapter.
Yeah. That's something.
The Chinese man that owns him feeds him garbage. It's like talking about a rubber washer.
Yeah.
Here, watch him eat this rubber washer. Like, why are you doing that?
And they reference him eating packing peanuts.
Yeah. It's so mean. And then it turns out later on in the book, Gizmo's like, oh, thank God he's not feeding me cardboard or something. Turns out he's just eating that garbage to amuse the Chinese man. It gets messed up.
It is
so stupid.
I mean, like, because he literally Gizmo's like, okay, I have to lay down the law with these people, and I won't eat garbage for them. If I have to live with these people, because he's miserable on the drive with Rand, and he's like, oh no, the only thing I had to do, I was left in peace, I just had to eat garbage for this guy, but if I'm not going to be in peace, then I'm not going to eat trash.
Oh gosh, a very strange C- for the story Gremlins is. Do you guys have anything else that you guys want to add to this discussion?
Go check out 80s horror librarian or 80s slasher librarian.
Okay, yeah, I'll put a link down his to that video for the Gremlins read along.
Because
if you guys would like to watch it,
it was fun.
Yeah, he also has. You could listen to it chapter by chapter or the whole thing.
Okay, that's very cool. Yeah. So that concludes the December 2020 novelization book club discussion for Gremlins. So next month, a new year.
Oh yes.
Jeremy's got a pick. Jeremy, what is our pick here?
In space, no one can hear you scream. Alien by the maestro of all movie novelizations, Alan Dean Foster.
Also, I just want to say thank you, Jeremy, for giving me this copy.
You're welcome. We gotta support Mr. Foster and all of his problems with royalties right now.
Yep.
So,
well, guys, thank you all for tuning in, watching this. Have a wonderful, happy new year from all of us here at Paper Movies. Have a good one.
Yeah, have some good reading. Stay Gucci, people.